Hakaze, a powerful mage and princess of the Kusaribe family, awakens on a deserted island after being abandoned there inside a barrel by her aide Salmon Kusaribe. She is left without supplies and she is unable to use her magic. Salmon watches with his men from afar, confident that she will perish on the island as she will not be able to help. Hakaze swears vengeance but goes to look for food. Yoshino, an ordinary teenager, goes to school and his teacher asks about the whereabouts of his best friend Mahiro, but Yoshino brushes him off. Later he is bullied by delinquents who beat him up and rob him. He remembers a time where his girlfriend Aka, Mahiro's sister, berated him for defending Mahiro against 15 guys. After school, Yoshino goes to visit Aka's grave where he is confronted by Evangeline, a government official. Yoshino finds her suspicious. Evangeline questions Yoshino's relationship with Mahiro and threatens him with a gun and questions him about Mahiro's whereabouts. Yoshino doesn't know, as the last time he and Mahiro had spoken they had argued. Mahiro was sick of the lack of progress and looking into his sister Aka's death and vows to do anything it takes to find her killer and punish him. Evangeline and Yoshino are surprised by a swarm of butterflies and Yoshino uses them as a distraction to attack Evangeline. Evangeline gets the upper hand, but is defeated by an arriving Mahiro. Mahiro blocks a bullet from Evangeline and he reveals that he can do magic. Evangeline fights back with a shotgun but is knocked out by Mahiro in close combat. The two friends retreat and stumble upon a man suffering from black iron syndrome, and Mahiro states that the city is doomed. Shocked, Yoshino witnesses a man turn into metal. Mahiro explains that all the city's living organisms have turned into metal as some kind of infectious disease, and that this disease has spread to many cities which the government is trying to contain and keep a secret. Mahiro explains the cause is magic and that a powerful family is trying to awaken a dangerous entity. And the black iron syndrome is a side effect of their ambition, which will soon involve the entire world. Mahiro explains that only the family heiress and the most powerful mage in the world, Hakaze, can stop the family, and that he is helping her. Yoshino and Hakaze communicate with Hakaze through a doll, and it is revealed that Mahiro is helping Hakaze in exchange for helping him to find Aka's killer. Hakaze had left a message in a bottle with the doll to find someone to contract with her while she was stuck on the desert island. Mahiro is convinced that magic had to do with his sister's death. A whirlpool nearby appears and a floating eye held by chains comes out of the water as the family summons a magical tree. Yoshino and Mahiro get a drink and Mahiro explains that several floating eyes have appeared across the country. Hakaze explains that her family is undergoing a power struggle that has resulted in her exile to the island. They go to Mahiro and Aka's former home and Mahiro reveals several talismans of magic that he had recovered from where Hakaze had hidden them from her family. The talismans give the user the ability to use magic a limited amount of times. From the desert island, Hakaze uses a spell through the talisman to collect information on Aka's killer. Mahiro sends Yoshino away to be with his parents and his girlfriend, not knowing that Yoshino's girlfriend was his murdered sister. As a parting gift, Mahiro gives Yoshino talismans to protect himself against black iron syndrome. Hakaze questions Mahiro's friendship with Yoshino and if it was a good decision to give Yoshino the talismans. Returning home, Yoshino is unable to contact his mother and walks the streets of his city. He finds his wallet as the delinquents that had attacked him earlier in the day have been turned to metal. Suddenly he is ambushed and threatened by Evangeline, and Yoshino uses a talisman to escape to his old school. Meanwhile, Mahiro is confronted by another mage with a magical spear, who Hakaze recognizes as Natsumura, an opponent too dangerous for Mahiro to fight. Mahiro ignores Hakaze's orders to flee and fights the mage. At the school, Evangeline uses gas to flush Yoshino out but is ambushed by Yoshino, who had taken her gun. Yoshino defeats Evangeline using a talisman that gives him speed and defense and proposes a deal. Meanwhile, Natsumura reports to Salmon that a boy is using Kusaribe magic, and Salmon suspects Hakaze's involvement and orders Mahiro to be captured alive. Mahiro and Natsumura trade blows, but Natsumura is too strong and Mahiro retreats. Hakaze berates him for not listening to her and states that since Natsumura is a true mage and Mahiro is using only talismans, Natsumura cannot be defeated. Suddenly, Yoshino appears with some candy and the two hide as Natsumura chases them. Hakaze and Yoshino urge Mahiro to retreat as the two only have speed and defense magic. Mahiro goes to confront Natsumura while Hakaze explains that the Kusaribe family does not have any destructive magic but that they use defensive magic in offensive ways. Hakaze explains that to use magic the family draws power from the Tree of Genesis, a tree that has existed since the beginning of time and rules all reason. In exchange for power, the family makes offerings called fruits of knowledge that turn to dust when used. Meanwhile, Mahiro is losing the fight and is running out of talismans while Natsumura compliments Mahiro's determination. The spear mage casts a spell that causes an explosion that blows Mahiro away. Pretending to be defeated, Mahiro renews his attack on Natsumura, but Hakaze explains that Natsumura is the family's strongest combat specialist even if he has weaker magic. Outside, Mahiro is down to his last talisman but is comforted by memories of his sister. Meanwhile, Evangeline is contacted by her superiors that the government plans to destroy tunnels and bridges into the city to start quarantining the city. Mahiro leads Natsumura into an oil spill which he lights, but the mage is unaffected by the fire. Yoshino arrives just in time to save his friend, and the two retreat, but Natsumura uses speed magic to catch up to them but runs into the government's missiles. Yoshino reveals that he laid this trap for Natsumura, but the spear mage survives the bombing. Having escaped the government quarantine, Yoshino and Mahiro discuss their options. Mahiro wants to fight the mages head-on, as it is revealed that through Hakaze's magic a member of the family was likely responsible for Eika's death. The two friends arrive by bus at a shrine in the countryside but are on alert as they see a swarm of butterflies. Seeing an old couple passing by, Yoshino goes to warn them about black iron syndrome, but the old couple ignore him. As Yoshino worries about kids playing with the butterflies, the mountain cracks and an eye rises from the mountain. Yoshino attempts to use a talisman to save the kids from black iron syndrome but is unable to save them. Uncaring of the deaths, Mahiro leads them to a house to get out of the rain. Yoshino starts to cook and he and Hakaze discuss his friendship with Mahiro, who Yoshino has known since elementary school. Back then, Mahiro was judged by his peers because he came from an influential family. One day, Mahiro was run over by a thief on a motorcycle and Yoshino is forced by his teacher to visit him in the hospital. Mahiro asked Yoshino for a favor, but Yoshino was uncertain because they did not know each other. Mahiro believes that the crash was not an accident and that the motorcyclist was trying to kill him. Their teacher returns from getting a drink and Mahiro tricks the teacher into forcing Yoshino to visit the hospital regularly. Over time, Yoshino helps to gather information from Mahiro as they investigate the accident. Yoshino finds out that Mahiro's chauffeur and the motorcyclist had a history together and suspects the chauffeur with colluding with the motorcyclist. Mahiro reports the chauffeur, who turns out to be the mastermind of the planned assassination. Their teacher rewards Yoshino by permanently assigning him to be Mahiro's friend. The two friends eat dinner and go to bed. The next day, Hakaze and Mahiro talk about Yoshino, and Mahiro reveals that in the aftermath of the motorcycle incident, Yoshino took revenge on the forced friendship with Mahiro by announcing to the class that Mahiro was run over because he was attempting to save a puppy. The next day, Hakaze reveals she has been stuck on the island for 131 days, while Yoshino and Mahiro use the direction of the fruits of Exodus to track down their next destination. Inside an invisible barrier with 4 fruits flying above them, Natsumura and Salmon discuss how to track the two boys, who they believe are using the fruits to guide them towards the Tree of Exodus. Salmon is convinced that Hakaze has found the family's hidden location and therefore had Hakaze exiled to the desert island. Hakaze reveals that she is kept alive as insurance since she is the only mage with enough power to handle the Tree of Exodus if the tree went berserk. In the past, the Tree of Exodus, the tree that destroys, attempted to destroy the world which was protected by the Tree of Genesis. The Tree of Exodus lost the battle and was sealed away, but the Tree of Genesis was wounded and forced to go into hibernation. The Kusaribe family was tasked with retrieving the fruit of the Tree of Exodus to prevent the Tree of Exodus from awakening before the Tree of Genesis recovers from hibernation. Yoshino and Mahiro arrive at a nearby aquarium where Hakaze had previously hidden a talisman, but the two are spotted by Tetsuma, another member of the family who had been watching places Hakaze used to visit. Exploring the aquarium, which is filled with fish turned into stone, the two friends recover Hakaze's talisman but are confronted by Tetsuma and his men. Hakaze is angered by Tetsuma and Salmon's betrayal of the family's duty to revive the Tree of Genesis, and Mahiro goes to attack Tetsuma. Using the talisman, Yoshino creates a distraction and the two friends escape further into the aquarium. Yoshino is confused that the talisman is similar to a necklace he and Eika had bought on a previous date in the aquarium, and he is disturbed by the coincidence. On the run from Tetsuma and his men, Hakaze and Mahiro reveal that two were fated to meet, and Yoshino wonders if it was Eika's fate to die so that Mahiro could help Hakaze save the world. The two friends spring a trap on Tetsuma and flood the corridors of the aquarium. They threaten to use electricity to electrocute Tetsuma and his men, who let them go. Hakaze sends the duo next to retrieve a powerful talisman from a former friend. They go to meet Junikaru, who gives them the talisman, and it is revealed that Salmon has faked Hakaze's death and is claiming that she died on the island. Junikaru insists that Hakaze is dead as he verified her deceased body himself after being invited by Salmon. Junikaru is suspicious of Salmon as the Tree of Genesis would have protected the princess, but Salmon claims that he used the world's logic against Hakaze to keep her trapped in the barrel on the island. The two friends leave and do not tell Junikaru that Hakaze is still alive, and she reveals that her friend was favored by the previous leader even if he was weak and could not use magic. On the bus, the three discuss the bones and they wonder why and how Salmon got Hakaze's bones. Suddenly, butterflies appear and fruits of Exodus rise from the ground, almost toppling the bus. Mahiro asks the bus driver to get them out of the city, and Hakaze agrees to Mahiro's request to confront Salmon directly. Meanwhile, Natsumura confronts Junichiro and attempts to attack him but is easily defeated. After the bus runs out of fuel, the two friends camp out in the forest and they discover that the talisman is created from a submachine gun. Suddenly, the two are ambushed by government forces and Mahiro is knocked out. He awakens to find Yoshino has disappeared. Yoshino is in fact with Evangeline, revealing that the deal they made was to lead Mahiro into a trap. Evangeline leads Yoshino to meet Takumi, a high-ranking government official who leads the army the government is using to respond to magic. At the meeting, Yoshino trades talismans to Evangeline in exchange for equipment. Mahiro arrives and takes out the guards with talisman magic and chases the convoy. Yoshino jumps out of the truck pretending to have escaped the government, and the two friends flee into the woods while Takumi orders the army to leave them alone. The two friends recover the machine gun talisman as Mahiro does not suspect that Yoshino is actually working with the government. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.